What is up, everybody? Gary Simon here of designcourse.com and the Design Course YouTube channel, of course. And if you're new to this, this is something I've done for many years, although a little bit less frequently. And basically, you're able to submit your designs, UI, UX designs, or even identity designs, and I will roast them today. Now, in terms of roast, of course, it's going to be constructive feedback. And we're going to try to get through these quick because we already have a lot of submissions. And how do you submit your design? Well, you have to join up in the Discord server that's linked in the YouTube description. If you're watching a different platform, I believe it should be in the description wherever that's at. And I will simply take these as they came in. There's already quite a few. We'll do this for about an hour. And yeah, the whole goal is just to help you become better. Now, if you really want to become better, the best designer version of yourself, definitely check out designcourse.com, where we have a UI UX course of over 16 hours of video instruction. It's actually 18 if you add in the new AI UI UX enhanced workflow chapter. And you can learn a ton here. It's interactive. It's not just video. You can go here at the UI UX, here the link, and you can learn exactly how to become a great UI UX designer. And you can also get 30% off during this stream only using the code STREAM30 at checkout. So definitely check that out. And let's just go ahead and jump in because we got a lot of people waiting. All right. So the very first entry right here, if I zoom up, is from Moaya. And this is MeaningDB.com. Let's check her out and see if there's any blatant areas in which we can improve. All right. So MeaningDB, learn India languages with us. So it's an Indian language dictionaries. All right. So let's see here. One thing I kind of don't like is we have a lot of space right here that's just kind of empty. And I think we could probably have utilized this space a little bit better. I can see the primary call to action that you want people to take is this right here. It says search a word. I think this could be probably emphasized quite a bit more and make it more like the focal point. So in this context where you have this massive amount of empty, voided white space, and you just have three elements, you have a headline, you have a description, and you have your call to action form, why not just center those? Just center them up and really make this stand out more. You could perhaps put a high contrast, maybe this blue right here, stroke around the whole thing, and make this button right here like what you're doing right there. See that? That should be the default, not the hover state, because you want that to be obvious, very obvious. It's your primary call to action. Outside of that, looking at this, Indian language dictionaries. All right, so this seems to me kind of like a big wall. It seems rather redundant. I might utilize this area to kind of emphasize like the top 5 or so. I understand you're probably trying to get in there for the SEO purposes, like all this English too, blah, 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 blah. But maybe do the top 5, top 10 max, and then utilize the other column for something else. And trending words, hazelnut. Look at that. All right. So that's probably what I would say there. If we want to check out the responsiveness, looks pretty good. There's no blatant issues there. I would probably just extend these all the way out, just to make it a little bit better. And it does seem like it's quite like, I'm not sure about these colors. Like this one is real similar to this color. So I might simplify this, just use the same color background, and you can use colored icons over here on the left if you wish. All right. So let's go ahead and continue on. Let me know in the chat if you all want me to do a rating, like ask you all in the chat if you want to do a 1 to 10 rating. All right, next up is going to be this person right here. I can't speak whatever language that is, so let's just continue on. Okay, let's get this up, make it big and beefy. All righty. Okay, so let's translate this because I don't know what the hell's going on here. All right. I'll be honest, this picture right here, I'm not really sure if it's like the right fit. You know, this looks like so engineering office for energy efficient solutions. just having a picture of like the main person here. I'm not sure if that fits very well. You could do that like in an about section, but just having you right here or whoever this person is, I don't really like it that much. So I would put something that's perhaps a little bit, you could do like an illustration or something. I'll use Midjourney or whatever to kind of give you like a nice illustration that's relevant based on this particular business. View achievements. This button's a little bit thin, so I'd like to make the height a little bit more so you have more white space vertically around view achievements. All right. Now this sub headline right here, or this like subtitle, our specialty, you can't really see that. So if I hit F12, we're going to go ahead and grab that, get the color, which is right here. There we go. So that color code, if you are watching, is 9EA42D. And now we can actually see it a lot. And you can, especially here on desktop, you can make this larger, this whole section. Not the section, but the actual type. So the font size is 1.77 rem. Let's go 3 rem. I like that better. These cards are unnecessarily tall, so I would just reduce them to the height of this right here. There is a lot of type right here as well. So for cards, typically you don't see this much type. You might have, 1/3. I wouldn't go more than perhaps to right here. And then you can have a learn more button where you take people specifically to that area. All right. Pretty solid here. What did everybody say in relation to my comment? All right. Well, nobody cares about a rating. Ratings actually they're kind of pointless and they take time up. So I can just breeze through these quicker so we don't have to deal with that. Framer template for artists. All right. So Framer is a no-code tool. If you're not familiar, framer.com. They were actually my sponsor a couple times, and I might actually be doing in the future a whole masterclass Framer curriculum at designcourse.com. So it's kind of like a Webflow competitor, no-code tool. Very powerful. Responsively, it looks pretty good. Artfolio, a simplistic portfolio of award-winning artist Jonathan Gates. All right. Are you Jonathan Gates? No. Okay. I was curious if like you're the actually artist. Obviously, probably not. This is some like really prominent artist or something. So I'm looking at this. All right, get it now. All right, now this is real confusing. What does get it now mean? So a simplistic portfolio of award-winning artists, blah, 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 get it now. Like, what do I get? Like paintings? So we need to figure that out a little bit more. You need to elaborate on that because I have no clue what this means. And then you have a Twitter and then a hire me, and they're all styled exactly the same, even though kind of semantically different. Like get it now is completely different than the idea of connecting somebody to your Twitter. And then the third one of hiring me is kind of different as well. So you want to design those differently in terms of visual hierarchy. All right. So next up, artworks about Spotify. All right. The gallery itself is fine. I have no problem with this. Nice large images. So this is actually pretty solid. Now, my only gripe was just with this left column a little bit right here. All right. Next up is going to be Capcad client work, Figma. I'm going to let it load up on the other screen just to make sure everything is nice and stream friendly. All right. Okay. So I like the headline. One thing I kind of don't like is the logo. Now, because we're in Figma, I could take this and just replicate and start making changes. Here's the original, and then here's my edited version. I would really like to see an improved logo. Well, it's a huge no-no right here. I cannot see that the little tagline right here. And so you should have a simplified version of the logo where it just says Pharmacad or whatever that is without the tagline because there's text here. You cannot read it. And also, I think it would make sense to put this right there as opposed to falling all the way down here. It doesn't look like it's in line very well. Now, the rest of this is a pretty solid nav, but there's too many primary nav items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Typically, they say no more than like 7 in a primary navigation. So there's a lot happening here. I'd probably try to reduce that and then have a secondary nav. You could even put a hamburger menu on a desktop and as a way to get to the additional lesser important pages. Next up, this is a real solid hero section right here. See, we have like an ad above it, but this is real solid in terms of the typographic visual hierarchy that's been established for your subtitle. You have a nice, strong, bold Poppins font. Headline, this is all good. And the call to actions, primary and secondary, very solid. Have no problem with that. This is a little bit, there's a lot to be desired in this section. It's kind of just looked like old school banner ads. I'm not sure if you have the ability to change these out. Maybe you don't. But in terms of design, they're not very well designed. But hey, what can you do? It's client work. If they were requiring you to integrate that stuff, then you can only do that. All right. So this section, the card designs are very nice and subtle, very light, low opacity strokes, which is completely fine. Yeah, very solid in this section. Solid cards here. I like this section as well. Not sure if I like this green. I might want to change that, especially green in relation to the blue. It's just a little strange. Like, I'm not sure if maybe you could use that, but maybe introduce a little bit of gray into it, so it's not so much lime green, or you can just experiment with the hue. And of course, you know, you're working with that green already, so I suppose that's okay. It's all pretty good. I wouldn't indent this. So there's an indentation occurring here. I would just keep this all the way to the left. It just kind of throws off the flow of the layout. Yeah. Overall, very solid, explicit labels here that you have. Yeah, very solid. All right, next up is personal portfolio from Kunal9. Kunal. All right. Let's continue on. This is interesting. We got the guy, kind of like a TV scan line things. Hello, I'm blah, 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 a computer engineering student and cybersecurity enthusiast. This website is a means to showcase my projects as well as my blog, blah, blah, blah. All right, so you can't scroll down. This is all it is, literally. So you're requiring people to take action, whether that be obviously through a click in order to get to your projects. Not a huge fan of that. Let me click on that. Okay, so when it comes to, I'm going to give you guys an all pro tip. When it comes to your portfolios and the projects inside of them, if you want to get hired, you need to have at least 2 real projects for real clients. A risk calculator. Let me click on this. Where does it take us? It's okay. There's another. No, you're at a GitHub and it's your own project. People really don't want to see that. They want to see real projects for real clients. And a lot of you are thinking, how the hell am I going to get real projects for real clients when I have a portfolio that doesn't have real project with real clients? There's a lot of different ways, and you have to be willing to work for free or very cheap in order to get those real projects for real clients. And so you could get those real projects for real clients. You can find those real clients by A, hitting up friends and family who might have a side project. B, you might have your own side project. C, you could hit up people on Discord servers. There's startup-oriented internet entrepreneur Discord servers, and there's a lot of people starting up. You can use Twitter to do a hashtag search for hashtag startup, hashtag SaaS, or something like that. And you're going to find a lot of people who just have either no websites for their project they're building or websites that are absolute garbage and you can improve. You hit these people up and you tell them, you level with them, you tell them that you need to build up a portfolio. You want to be able to have your design be integrated and live on its own website for a separate project and client. What's that do? That means anybody who visits your website, who's a potential client, if you're a freelancer or a potential employer, sees that you actually have real experience with real clients. All right. So definitely think of that. I do like this aesthetic. I think it could be improved a little bit because it's ultra super minimalism. You could do a lot of things in the way of JavaScript. I can see, you already have this little animation occurring here, maybe a little bit of subtle page movement, maybe a little bit more texture in the background of some sort, just to make it a tad bit more interesting. All right, next up. Gary, check this out. Use 1920 by 1080 if possible. It's not completely responsive yet. All right, well, I'm not going to check out 2 because we have a lot of people waiting. All right, let's, I'll get you to around 1920 by 1080 because I'm currently on a 4K res. All right, I like the Aurora background. I don't think it's responsive to my mouse, so it's not like 3JS. It might be a video-based background, which is fine. Worldwide clean water. I would like to see a little bit more of I'd like to see you elaborate on that a little bit more. So if I take F12 here, we get out this. You have a span there. Let's see. Oh, I screwed that up. Basically, what I would like to see is a sub headline underneath this and maybe push this headline up a little bit so that you can further elaborate on what exactly you're talking about, because it's leaving a little bit to desire. There's also no clear call to action. So if your intention is that they have to scroll, having a scroll indicator icon would be nice. So we're going to scroll down. We can see we have nice smooth animations here. So if I click on my Wapalizer plugin, we will see that we are utilizing GSAP, the GreenSock animation platform right here, which allows for something called Scroll Trigger plugin, where you can do these types of nice animations and such. Watch show reel. All right, and it looks like this is, yep, pretty responsive here. Might want to rethink how to integrate this part and like this little this arrow. It's kind of leaving a lot here to be desired. I mean, there's no reason just not to take this and just kind of push it, either center it or make it larger. And that up arrow, I would say, is pretty big. That was down there. So think of that. Kind of just integrate a little bit more. It's super simple. I like the scroll animations because they're subtle and they're not too, they're not too overwhelming. So you've done that well. All right. Next up is going to be website for my freelance development business from Jens. Here, let's go ahead and convert that to English. All right. All right, we do have hover states for the nav, an active state, so that's good. All right, individual software solutions for your company. That's a pretty good headline, sub-headline right here. Now, notice how the background of this site is pretty much 100%, it's 100% white. There's kind of a lot of run-in together with the different sections. So we have a hero section here, so that's one section. We have the services section here, and then we have a kind of like an abbreviated about me section right here, and then a testimonial section down at the bottom. But then there's nothing at the bottom beneath that, like a footer or something like that. So you don't have really what I would consider to be a clear call to action. People want to be able to easily contact you / hire you. And I would put that either as a primary and secondary call to action, or just one single primary call to action right here underneath. And then to further separate these sections out, you could potentially create a container around this area with a slightly different color background. I actually do see, I could barely tell, there is a grid, very light grid background pattern here, which is cool, but I think you can make that slightly darker by like 0.5% or so that we can see this background pattern just a tad bit more. And one thing that I do like to do, like if I hit F12 and I come out here and we grab this section, let's see here. All right, so unfortunately, this section isn't spanning 100% from the very left and right of the browser. So this is going to look stupid what I'm about to do. I'm going to do background. I'm going to put gray for a second. Don't worry. I know it looks like garbage. Just try to imagine it going all the way left and right. And then we take the cards inside of it and we say background white. So when we have, let me do this real quick. Let me also take my phone and mute it because I'm getting a bunch of text messages. Who the hell is this from? Oh my God. Okay. All righty. Well, never mind that. So let's go ahead and put, I'm going to put like padding, like 2M or something, just to show you. My intention for this would be to take this section and take this gray right here and go all the way to left and right. But notice how it just kind of, it brings, making the cards lighter than the background which they're sitting on brings more attention and focus to them. So that's my intention with like doing that. I wouldn't just wrap it like this container right here in that color, but I would push this out over here all the way to the edge of the browser. That way we can bring attention and focus to these cards. Both of them would obviously be white. All right. Awesome stuff. Let us continue. This is going to be SR Designs. Hi, I'm a freelance UX designer. This is my portfolio website. Would love your feedback. Thanks. So one thing I'm going to say right off the bat, this domain name is really long. This is obviously your name. It's going to be very difficult for people to recall this domain name. And that's sort of important. You know, you want people to be able to recall your domain name. So if you want to do a hyphenated shortened version of your name and your domain name, I would completely do that. Or you can just completely rebrand it as its own company name of some sort. That's completely fine. But when you're trying to tell somebody like at a bus station or something, they're not going to remember that. And they may not have a phone on them, you know. So you want people to recall for multiple reasons. All right, UI UX designer here. Home about. I would like to see. Oops, sorry. I would like to see. I was the wrong shortcut. The about needs to be more contrast. In other words, darker. So you want to make that darker. Hi, I'm blah blah blah. A freelance UI UX designer. I help people transform their ideas into designs. Let's talk. See my designs first. This right here, that needs to be pushed up in line vertically with your see my designs first. Oh, okay. So you have an animation on it and it's kind of like going, it was stuck there for a while. Maybe that's because I zoomed up and it freezes the screen, but you kind of want that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this part isn't too bad. I actually like this font. What font is that? Where's my what font? There we go. It just says W font, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's an imported font. Okay, next up. All right, that's cool. So we have a fixed background here, which is fine. Working remotely from India. This type is kind of hard to read right here. So I might want to rethink that type of font. All right, so you're doing something real unique here with these cards. And unique is cool and all, but it is kind of strange having the description above the type here. And it makes it a little bit in this section, a little bit cluttered, going, you know, like this. So you might want to rethink this possibly and think about how you can do an alternative approach to this design. Simple is more often better than trying to go a little bit complex. Oh, you want to make sure those come in, obviously, right away, because for a while there was just a bunch of empty white space. All right, now the designs. All right, so you definitely want to have some white space, I would say, between these sections, especially because you have some parallax occurring here, because they kind of run in together, and it's hard to discern where the different design starts and ends. But I do like what's happening here overall. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you just want these cards to come in a little bit quicker. Awesome. All right. Now, let us real quickly take a quick break so I can spam you with the UI UX design course, just for those who've filtered in who weren't here at the beginning. The UI UX design course is, by the way, a new AI chapter has been added. It's nearly 2 hours worth of AI where we utilize various AIs such as ChatGPT-4 and Midjourney to create this entire sort of very cool layout. That's just a quick preview. But the course itself is 16 or actually 18 hours of video. There's interactive UI tests, which you can actually try those out for free by clicking play now. It's a way to really hone your UI design fundamentals, your eye for all the important stuff that makes you a great designer, such as white space, color scale, alignment, visual hierarchy, etc. And there's also mentorship, which is an optional subscription add-on service that is $49 a month. It's actually cheaper if you could find a coupon. And I review your designs and I revise them based on the 12 different challenges that are found throughout the course. So it's a great way to get feedback and ultimately improve big time. So definitely check that out. Also, if you're interested in other courses, I have an interactive CSS course. I have, of course, Mentor, which I just talked about. I have coaching where you can actually get a one-on-one with me. And then I have a new generative video course. This was a real quick course. It's 80 minutes long that I created. And you can watch this video to see what that was. So if you go to my YouTube, you see this very cool video I uploaded 4 days ago where you can just check it out. All right, so that's enough of spam, and we're going to get back to the actual reviews. All right, so next up is going to be Akash, freelance web designer. This is my portfolio link. I need feedback to improve my portfolio. I don't have a testimonial section in my portfolio because till now I don't have any solid testimonials. That's always a problem when you're starting out. All right. Okay. Home, portfolio, about, contact, email me. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit more white space between those areas here on this desktop version. Build your online presence that reflects your brand's personality and values. It's a very solid headline. It's better than like saying, I'm a web designer and developer. Hire me, because a lot of people do that. And a great way to come up with some good, catchy headlines is to use something like GPT-4. That'll help. Now, so this whole section right here, I like that you've added, some people will just slap on a rectangle, picture of themselves and call it a day. I do like that you've added some graphic design accents here as well. So I think this one, we could probably do without that or change it in a slightly different manner. If this were on a Figma prototype, I'd experiment a little bit, but I'm not sure if I just like the color. Maybe stick with this same color right here for those. All right, good secondary and primary call to action. Now, right here, I don't like having all the text be purple. So what I would do instead is take like this text right here. Here, let's see, is that right there? Yep. We're going to do color black. And that will just create a lot more separation. So if I come here, where are we at? Yeah, I would do it for these as well. So color, it's only going to change the top one. Yeah, these should all be black as well. And you're going to create a little bit better hierarchy between the title and the description. 2 pictures of yourself, unnecessary. Think of something else that you can put that's relevant. So if you have an about me section, it makes sense to have a picture of about yourself, obviously. But right here, you want to have a picture maybe of something else or some type of illustration, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Contact me. Takes you to a contact page. That's fine. Okay, that's great. You have an email and you have an embedded form. If I click on website, unfortunately, you are breaking a cardinal UX rule. It goes away. So you always want to have a label describing the input, the text field input or text area or whatever. So you want to look into floating labels. If you want to kind of keep the same aesthetic, where you click it, it's going to automatically push the name/organization, the label, up above or so of the text input field. So it's always in view. 6 plus 7 equals 13. I'm fine with that. It's not as annoying as those stupid captchas asking me to put, check off different squares. Social media you have down here. So you've really nailed this very well because you have your social media, and there's a lot of them. You have a contact form. You have your email. The only thing you're lacking is a phone number. That's it. I do like the textured background. All right. Yeah, quite solid. I think you can improve on these two colors. So for instance, if I take this, we're going to grab this. Let's experiment with the background color here. I'm going to grab this color and we could just go darker. I like that. That's perfectly acceptable. I think the other one was just, it varied too much. But this right here is solid. And if you want to know what that color code is, it's 1C0136. Okay. Next up is, by the way, we'll take a break and take a look at some of the comments because I have not done that yet. Let's see. Hey, listen to me. How can you join? You have to join the Discord server. Should be in the description. It's in the description of the YouTube video. So if you go to youtube.com/design course, you'll see the live stream video, and then there's the description. Here's the thing. I'm not going to be able to get to it anyways because we have a lot of submissions. All right. Next up is going to be Yusuf, I think. Please review the pages of the website and rate it. The last time I submitted, you didn't rate it, please. I want your opinion. This person wants a rating. All right. All right, so we have a pretty animated video here. It's actually pretty cool. 03 food. Experience Jordan's diverse cuisine with blah, 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 blah. It's a little bit glitchy. Wasn't able to push those over ideally. See how this is responsively. So you are using viewport width. That's a big problem right here. So when you use something like viewport width, I'm not sure if you're using clamp. The CSS property of clamp will allow you to set minimum values in ideal values, of course, and maximum values. So this is too small when we get around the tablet version, and we're not able to read this. I'm also not a fan at all of this big white stroke around the menu, so I would get rid of that. That's unnecessary. So yeah, definitely think about that. And I would also say you should look into having a font pairing. Looks like you're using the same interesting font for everything. So it's modern. This is modern. This is modern. This font is fine for headlines and stuff like that and titles, but you want something that's a little bit more easier to read than this right here, the same font. So stick with something simple, a simple sans serif font like Poppins or Inter, Source Sans Pro, etc. Those would work well instead. But there's a lot, pretty good happening here. This right here, I'm not a fan of this area. They're YouTube videos, but they're cut off big time, and you're not utilizing the space available quite well enough. So rethink that. Let me get rid of this stupid what font thing. There we go. And this is kind of ugly. I would not have a comment section on an information page like this. It reminds me of the old school, like late 90s guest books. If any of you are old enough, like me, who's almost 40, guest books were a thing at the bottom of a page where people could just write comments. They were called guest books. Almost every website had one, but they got phased out because a lot of times it doesn't make sense. It does make sense in the context of like a blog post where people can ask questions and stuff. But in this case, I really don't think it makes sense to have a comment section or a modern guest book. And plus, I didn't really like those colors. They contrasted way too much. All right, so next up is and I would give your rating, by the way, probably something around just a flat 7 out of 10. All right. So Midka, I've been working on a site currently deployed at blah, blah, blah. So let's check this out. All right, so this right here, good amount of white space between the cards. I like this amount of white space, but if we extend this out, now the layout's starting to break. And then we have this over here. There's a column established by the logo, and it's being adhered to by your office checkpoints type. But then because of how this probably wasn't intentional, but it's because of how you have the CSS and the margins and padding set up, you have this white space right here, and it's breaking the nice flow of the layout. So adhering to columns and rows when it comes to your layouts are important. And of course, there's CSS pseudo selectors of like first or first child, last child, etc. That'll allow you to make sure that there's no margin or padding applied over here. Okay. So you need to rethink about how to scale these so that you can maintain the same amount of white space while scaling everything up. And you could do that with viewport width and of course, clamp and all that stuff. All right. After that, yeah, so I really don't know what exactly is happening here. I don't know what type of website this is or what it's for, but you can't click on any of the cards. There is a little copy link. So again, I'm kind of like not familiar with D2. It must be a game or something like that. I do like the card designs themselves. The colors are very well. I like this approach. They're not high contrast borders or anything like that. They work pretty well. All right. Next up is going to be HBen. Please go to the website page. This is my portfolio I'm working on. It's going to be animated as well, but yet is not currently. All right. But is not yet currently. All righty. This is interesting. I can tell already. All right. Boost your online presence and attract more customers with modern and clean web design customized to your business needs. All right. So pretty large in your face. One thing I can kind of definitely improve here, and it's a very minor detail, but minor details, a bunch of minor details that are gone wrong can really screw up a design. Your about me, I could see that you have like a yellow drop shadow there, and it makes the yellow kind of just throws this off a bit. So I'm not sure why about me is being highlighted or changed differently, but I might want to change how you emphasize this. Like if this is supposed to be the current page indicator, you might want to rethink that. You could do something instead like this. So let me just take the rectangle tool. Oh, darn. Here. I'm not sure if this is going to work now because everything's in auto layout, I think. Let me just hit R. I think. There. Okay, there's like auto layouts everywhere. Well, what I wanted to do is just like have, yeah, there we go, is have this and then have white type on top of it that says about me. All right, so like put this up here, make this white. And again, this would say about me, and that would be like a good current page indicator instead of that yellow drop shadow. Take your business to the next level. So that's a primary call to action. So I kind of like the hand drawn sort of aesthetic that you have throughout here. I think you need to probably scale it down or tone it down just a bit with these large headlines and kind of separate it to a tad more or add to it by having what you've done over here with this type right here. You're using something called invisible. I'm just going to use enter because I don't have that font. Again, I would scale this down to like 22, but then also increase the line height because your line height was was real close together. And so I would, make sure that you're doing something a little bit more like this so that you have more white space between your the lines or the lines of your text essentially. Uh, Additionally, this is kind of just thrown here, and you could do something like this. If I ungroup this and I ungroup that, I grab this, you know, push it like that. It's okay if some of it falls off to the side, but notice how the height of this text exceeds, and this is much smaller. So it's kind of like it breaks the flow of the layout. But whereas this, you have a nice row here at the bottom, nice row at the top, so that we don't have this situation occurring right here. This helps you define the structure of your layout a little bit more. Also, I'm not sure if I like everything being lowercase like that. Because again, if you're trying to get hired, that's going to throw people off. Again, more line height on this type. All right. So it's cool. It's perfectly fine to go for this sort of aesthetic. I forget what that's called. It's a orphism that people adopted earlier this year. But yeah, that's fine. All right. Next up, I am sweating. It is hot in my house. It's like 80 degrees here. It's typically only supposed to be 60, like 2 at this point in time, but whatever. I'm gonna have to suffer. All right. Yeah. Is it neo-brutalism? Yeah, I think that was what it was. Yep, you're right. All righty. Let's continue on. Yeah, this is the next one. All right. I really like this right here. We have a sans serif font, very clean, simple font. And then we have a nice serif font underneath. And then a nice, simple sans serif font there's right there. So that's completely fine. I really like this case study card and how you've integrated just, a portion of the UI. That's completely fine. Good white space all around the card. All these details do definitely matter. A lot of times people will get the white space inside cards screwed up and they're not consistent and it just throws off the flow. Very nice. Only thing I might potentially do is just take this background color, introduce maybe just a shade or two darker, but that's it. This is all solid though. Very nice from what I see here. All right, next up is going to be well, I'm going to check just the one. You submitted 2, and I can't do 2 for each person. Of course, if you want me to review your designs or so and even revise them, you can join the UI UX course and add mentor onto it. Okay. All right. Next up is you definitely want to have a home button. People expect home buttons. They've done UX research studies on this stuff. And then also an active state, like which page you're currently on. So these are gray. Maybe you can make the ones that are currently active a darker version of this color to ensure proper contrast, or make it black. A little bit work needs to be done on this type. There's too much line height here between these pieces of text, but then you have a little, like not enough white space between here. So I could do a real quick refactor of this section. So we'll take this type. All right, so the line height, I'm just going to guess 2M. Okay, so 1M. All right, so probably like 1.2 M or rem units. And then we need more white space underneath full stack developer. So we take full stack developer. We'll just do like a margin bottom. All right, so maybe like 1.5 M. All right, and then maybe not quite that much. Let's see here. I go back to this type right here. Where's the font size? I don't see the font size. Let's do font size. 1.2 rem. That's better. So I think this type of alignment is a lot better than what you had. So if a refresh, we'll see the original, and notice how it just doesn't look as good. It's just broken up with too much white space and then too little space between these elements. And this right here, put a circle in it and animate it up and down with a CSS animation. It'll just make it more obvious. This definitely needs to be fixed. You have indent right there, and then you have just way too little width for this particular card. So if you're using Flexbox, make sure you use like something like Flex 1 to ensure these are all the same amount of width. Just width distribution. So that's a floating label. That's good at least, but you're not really utilizing the space too well, and these aren't obvious enough. I wouldn't dim those out. I would make those white so that they really stand out, and try to utilize this space a little better. You have a lot of space here on the right and left. So you typically, I advise taking the contact form, pushing it over here on the left column. So it would consume perhaps 2/3 or so, like 66% or whatever of this available space. And then on the right, you can have your secondary forms of contact information. All right. We're at 48 minutes. We're going to conclude here pretty soon. Coming down here, who's next? Prototype website design concept for an AI art generation app created natively for Mac OS. All right. Designed using PenPot, which for those of you who don't know, PenPot is a relatively new open source competitor to Figma. Okay. I did do a video on them a few months ago. All right. I like this. I like the nice kind of pastel 3D-ish sort of background. Nice, strong headline right here. Very good, strong call to action with a subtle blue sort of drop shadow. That works very well. Very distinct secondary call to action. Sometimes people will put in, the same sort of aesthetic for both buttons, and it just like you're not sure which ones you should click. So that's visual hierarchy. I would emphasize home being the current page, perhaps like a short little underline underneath, or changing. You could do that in multiple ways: icon, color, font weight, etc. Underlines. This section is looking pretty good here. Yeah, this is very solid. Probably our best design submitted today. Keep it up. All right, next up is going to be portfolio, Figma design. Again, have an active state. Now, there's a lot to be desired here in a couple ways, but first is your headline. UI UX designer, that can be a part of like a subtitle, and part of a description, but your headline right here needs to be more unique. Speak to the benefits of what you can provide people as opposed to the descriptor of what you are. That's usually for, like I said, the sub headline, subtitle, your description, etc. Think of it this way, like car commercials. Do you ever see a car commercial that like starts giving you all of the details about the car? Like they talk about the engine size or something? No, it's all about emotion and stuff. So these companies, they know what works, and there's a reason why they're not sitting there showing you the engine and describing the detail. They invested hundreds of millions of dollars into this stuff collectively as an industry, and they find that what resonates with people is not the fact that you're a UX designer. They understand what sells is the emotions, the benefits of what you provide. These illustrations, not the best illustrations that I would choose. A lot of them are high contrast, like this white right here. That's typically a shadow. So why would there be a white shadow on a dark background? This should be black or something closer to it. So think about that. Same thing with this illustration. You have some issues with white space. There's like nothing here. And you have this huge image here. So you need to have balance between your columns. And again, it doesn't make sense to have a left aligned contact me when your form has been centered. So if you're going to have your centered form, then this contact me should be centered as well right here. All right. And MAH codes will be next. Blog stack. All right. So there was no information about what's happening here. I can't really translate it. Looks like a blog. It says blog stack. Obviously it is. I might want to reduce the amount of white space you have here. You just unnecessary amount of white space. And then this thumbnail right here is just kind of like randomly placed. There's no sense of alignment outside of just being aligned to the right. I could see that it's aligned vertically. There's the same amount of white space here and here, but I wouldn't take that approach. I would probably try to get it aligned with the top of this column and the bottom of this column, and then push this up. I do like the separation you have typographically speaking between this section, this title, this description, and this. Those are all solid. All right, awesome. All right, so real quickly, we're going to go to designcourse.com for one last time. For those of who have been filtering in and out, definitely check out the UI UX design course and the CSS course if you're interested in that. And we have over 38 interactive tests with our custom platform. You can actually try those tests by scrolling down here at the UI UX landing page and clicking play now. It's actually a very fun game where you learn how to train your eye in terms of UI design fundamentals. So like, what is the issue here? Well, I can tell you right now, contrast is going to be, no, it would be color in this case. There it goes. And it will provide you with the fixes. And then typography is an issue because look at all this stupid letter spacing there. That just looks bad. So I click typography. There we go. We fixed that up. Blah, 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 blah. So that's just one example of tests that we have. There's a bunch of tests like what is wrong with this? So we have 38 of those actually integrated into the course. Of course, also with video, over 18 hours of video. We have a new chapter on AI design. So you can learn how to utilize GPT-4 in Midjourney to assist your UI design efforts. And this is a brief look at the design we create for my wife's lactation consultant business, which is a real business. And there's the Design Mentor, all this other good stuff. And if you use the code STREAM30, which is going to not be, you're not going to be able to use STREAM30 soon because it's for the stream while we're streaming, you can get 30% off. So definitely check that out. And that's going to be it. If I didn't get to your design, make sure you stay and you idle in the Discord server because usually an hour or two or three before the stream, I do an announcement. I let people know I'm about to stream. Go in there and submit your design. And of course, also, if you really want me to review your design, all these other people who submitted, join the course and add mentor, and then you can submit those designs and I will go ahead, review them and revise them in many cases. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. And I have another meeting here in 5 minutes. So I have to conclude now. And I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.